Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today's live match is at Meadowlands Fishery in Coventry for the Lanes Cup. Now there wasn't many on this match as it clashed with a big match that was on at Barston, so I'm guessing that took a lot of the anglers that would have been here to there. But never mind, I'm here for a practice because we're on this venue in a few weeks' time on the Matrix Champs. I don't do a lot of waggler and bomb fishing, so this will give me the opportunity to brush up on it. Right, I've drawn peg 69 on Lambsdown. It's a really shallow peg close in. It's the first time I've been up this end of the pool, or this far up the pool, because I think these pegs are quite new. They've been put in since I last came here. When I say it's shallow close in, 11 metres, I've got about 18 inches of water. And I had to actually go out to 16 metres to find 3 feet. And where I've put my keep nets is probably only about 8 inches deep. You're quite far off the water on these pegs. I mean, I'm about 3 foot up off the water where I'm sitting on my box. And if I'd have realised how shallow it was before I actually set up, I'd have got in the water. So I'll bear that in mind for the next time I go there and if I ever draw here again. There was loads of room between the pegs on most of the venue. And I felt a little hemmed in where I was, being next to the end peg. But it looked nice enough. There was fish about, really warm, fish on the top. There didn't seem so many on the top in front of us, but we'll give it a go anyway. So the plan was to fish pellet wag, bomb underneath that, plus the method feeder. And then on the pole lines, plumbed a line out to 16 metres for fishing 8mm pellets. Line at around 6 metres from the bank and at about 11 metres away from me, where I was going to feed some dead maggots. And then the edge line to my right, which was, like I said, it was only like 8 or 9 inches deep. I was going to see what happened as to how I'd feed that as the day progressed. I started the match on the water waggler, just plopping it out there to see if there's anything about and see if I could entice a bite. I did get a couple of bites on it, but I think they were roach, possibly. Gave that a chuck for a while. Did see the odd fish and threw at it, but I don't think I'm the best at mugging on the waggler. It's not something I'm practiced on. I don't get to do it a lot. It was a good thing to come to this match today because we've got the Matrix Champs coming up on the venue soon, and I could have done with a practice as I haven't thrown a waggler for a long time. And like I say, it's good practice for that. So after chucking it about for a while, I started feeding some 8mm fishery pellets. I'm chucking at a fish there, look. I think I chucked it a bit too close to him, to be fair, but never mind. At least I've got my casting a little bit accurate. So back in the feed. And there wasn't a lot happening. Not a lot being caught around me either. But then the lad on the end peg, peg 72, which was to my left, he started catching before anybody else, again on the waggler. And it was probably about 3/4 of an hour to an hour into the match before I've had my first bite. It's lovely hooking into these Meadowlands carp because they've got some right go about them. Proper strong fish. It's an enjoyable method. It's a very busy method, this is. If you're not casting, you're feeding. You're always working the float, chucking it in. If it doesn't go instantly, you're pretty much reeling in and chucking again. And like I say, when you're not casting, you're feeding. So it's a method that you can't rest on. You've got to keep working it. I mean, before I've hooked that fish, I must have cast 50, 60 times. I'm not exaggerating either. Well, the more you work it, the more you're rewarded. Obviously, there's got to be fish in the area. Strong setup as well, this is. I'm not messing about. I'm fishing a £5 main line. 019 reflow power hook length to a size 16 kkhb. with a medium banding, and I'm fishing an 8mm Robin red pellet in the band. Nice dark red pellet, stands out in the upper layers of the water, so hopefully it gets seen a bit quicker and obviously intercepted. So my first fish was around, well, I thought it was about £4, but it was obviously bigger than that. You'll see why later on in the video. I underestimated the size of a few of the fish, to be fair. So I'm giving it a feed before I cast out again. I'm only feeding 3 to 4 pellets, and then I'm chucking the waggler out in amongst them. Sometimes I was casting before I fed, sometimes I was casting after I fed, then sometimes I'd feed while the waggler is out there, then I'd reel in and cast again. Trying to work out which is the best way to do it. There's another bite. It's not a carp, this one, it's a skimmer bream. Decent fish as well, to be fair. Nigh on £2. Don't mind catching them when they're this size. At least you're coming back with a fish, I suppose. Yeah, good stamp fish. And like I said, it was a really, really hot day. Plenty of sun cream on. As you're really exposed to the elements here. No shade or anything like that. Missed a bite there. Could have been another bream or a roach even. I must have been chucking for another 15-20 minutes and I hadn't had an indication. So I thought I'd try the bomb over the top of where I fed. I'm using a 15 gram ICS cube on the long ICS stem with the heavy elastic in. I like to use elasticated stems where they're allowed, as it gives you that bit more cushion when you're playing fish under your feet. And by using a long stem, you've got that little bit more elastic to give you that little bit more leeway. Again, it's an 019 hook length to a size 14 kkhb hook, and again a medium band. And I'll be using a Fishery 8mm or a Robin Red 8mm in the band. It's not clipped up, this rig. I'm cushioning the cast as it gets out to where I'm feeding the pellets, so it makes a nice little plop on the water and lands in amongst those pellets. So early on I was getting lots of liners, and that led me to believe there was a few fish in the area, more so on the bottom than up in the water. So maybe the bum was the best way to go. And when you got them in close, they did a little bit of running because it's so shallow. They can't dive deep or anything. They can only run. So I've had my clutch set quite light. So if they did run, I didn't end up getting broke. It just peeled line off the spool. Love carp fishing, especially when they pull back a bit. I don't do it enough. As you know, most of the venues I fish are either canals or F1 type venues. So it's a nice change to get on a carp venue. I really enjoy doing it. Is it? There's an £80 net limit at Meadowlands. You've got to put your silvers and fish up to £2 in one net, and then your carp spread over the other nets. And like I say, it's an £80 limit. If you go over your £80, you get knocked back to £80. So it's not as bad as some venues where you lose a net. There's me rubbish again at getting a bite in the band. Never been that good at getting pellets in bands. Keep feeding those pellets, trying to attract new fish into the peg all the time. I just had a little liner there, look. There you go, there's one. The bites are quite ferocious at times as well on the bum here. You've got to have good rod rest set up. I've seen a few rods at this venue get dragged in with the wrong kind of rod rests. If you're not paying attention when you get a bite, it's so easy for them to drag that rod into the lake. So having a decent rod rest plus a butt rest is essential, I feel anyway. Rods and reels are too expensive to just let get dragged in a lake, never to be seen again. Till some lucky guy fishes it out a few matches later. I bet this place is littered with rods and reels. that have been dragged in over the years. And we've got another nice carp. Quite far off the water here as well. Probably about 3 foot off the water where you sit on this peg. And the pegs around you. Like I say, if I'd have realised how shallow it was, I'd have been in the lake. The bottom line was pretty good. I expected to catch more on the waggler than on the bottom, but you never know. That's why it's called fishing, I suppose, and not catching. Here we go again. Ducks were a nuisance as well. They kept swimming between me and Adam Rumble on my right. Sometimes you'd have up to 20 ducks in your peg. And they were fighting over getting your pellets as I was hitting the water. So you had to up your feed. And just hope that some of them were getting down. Because the ducks were on them as soon as you catapulted them out. And when you wasn't catapulting, they were sitting looking at you waiting for the next feed. Little buggers. Never felt I was going to beat the peg on my left, the end peg. But for most of the match, I was staying within a fish or two of him. So you never know if I can catch some fish late on down the edge or in the shallow water around me. It could push me on. But we'll see. For now, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm enjoying this. I'm using a 10 foot 30 gram Superior on the bomb line. And on the waggler, I'm using an 11 foot Superior. Absolutely love these rods. Lovely action on them. Reels I'm using are the 320 Centris on the waggler, and then I'm using a magnitude 420 on the bomb and feeder.
Say again. Well, I'm going to fish meat. When as soon as I put it on, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. Start holding things. You know, I wanted to come up a short line, fishing, fishing pellet short. So I went out to 7 metres, and I kid you not, it's 18 inches deep, and I thought, nah, go and see if I can find 3 foot. And when I got to about 13 metres, that's where I found 3 foot. That's how far away, how far out I have to go to get 3 foot of water. It's a long way, that is, then. I should have got in the water, to be fair, but if I'd have known, how fucking shallow it was.
See what I mean about the ducks? Wasn't affecting the fishing though. Like I said, I'm on the shallow bank here. It's really shallow close in, all the way out to 16 metres. It was only 3 foot deep at 16 metres. Obviously deeper out where I'm casting to. But on the opposite bank, it's really deep. Some of the pegs on this venue are like nearly top 4 deep on the pole line. Oh, that one's fell off. He's left me in the grass. Oh well.
Oh, my old fast decent fish as well, that. Oh, yeah.
Another ferocious bite. Peeling line off the reel. I don't use a backwind, I don't. I just let the clutch do all the work. If you got it set at the right tension, there's not a problem. In fact, I rarely use a backwind facility on any reel. Although there was the odd fish on the top, that never many come within pole range for you to mug any. I don't know if it's because it was shallow. It was only the odd fish that came in. I did try and mug a couple throughout the day, but they weren't having none of it. They were swimming a bit too fast. And sometimes it just wasn't worth
Got the
reeling
ice
in
cream. Oh,
to try and get one. By the time you drilled in and picked your pole up, they were gone anyway. It just wasn't one of those days in this area.
I was sitting here for 10 minutes and telling me that.
There's another one. Very enjoyable. Lovely action on that rod. Adore these rods, I do. He's in. Every time it died off a bit on the bomb, I picked up the waggler and had a few casts with that. Occasionally I'd get a fish. Most of the time I wouldn't. But it also helped to disperse the ducks by chucking the waggler amongst them. It meant I could get some feed in the peg without having a commotion off the ducks. Oh, there's a nice bite, look. I never had none of those bites on the wag where as soon as it hit the water, it was off. Never had none like that on the day. The rig was in the water long enough for it to settle before I actually got a bite. I do like it when they do that though. When you cast out the waggle hits the water and then it's bang straight away. It's exciting fishing, that is. He's in.
Hey,
Another decent carp.
7.
One of the better ones.
Just that my biggest one.
I'll switch the waggler now to one of the precision pellet wagglers because the wing got up slightly, a bit too much for a water waggler. And these offer a bit more control on the cast.
And I've got a skimmer though.
It's me joking with the chap on the MPEG. He's had 9 carp, I've had 7 now. But I've had a skimmer as well. And I've got another one to add to it as well. Another half decent skimmer.
I swear on the top of him as well, mate.
Get it on for £2 again. No more bites on the waggler, so back on the bomb. Bang, we're into a fish again. Hook I used on the pellet wag was a size 16 KKHB to 0.19 hook length, reflow power. Good, strong, robust line that is. It's my go-to line for when I'm fishing for carp. Just doesn't let you down. Feel my neck starting to burn a bit, so I turn my cap around, try and cover my neck for a while, but I couldn't see anything. So when I've landed this fish, I'll apply some more sun cream. Better to be safe than sorry. Don't want to burn. Have a nice fish. I'm using a robin red pellet on the bottom now. I seem to be getting bites quicker on the robin red than I was on the fishery 8mm.
You've already got a couple of hook lengths in here.
And that fish had already got a hook in his mouth. So I got mine and the other one out as well.
Aye.
So he's obviously broke somebody at some
You want
point.
to calm down a bit.
It's fairly recent because it looked like it was a fairly new hook.
It's acting on the end here now.
Just keeping those pellets going in. And we're in again. There's far more fish on the bottom than there is in the upper layers. Keeping your rod low while playing fish helps bring them in better as well. And then just pick the rod up when it gets close to the netting process. By keeping the rod low, you can steer the fish a bit better. Same process as on the pole. The higher you have your rod or your pole, the more inclined they am to swim away from you. Another ferocious bite. Feel like I'm doing really well at this point. Feel like I may be in front of the chap on the MPEG as well. Happy days. And there's another one in the sprout bag. Never caught none of the real big ones on the day, but there's some massive carp in here. This one's a decent fish though. Probably the biggest I've had on the day. And another one. Trying to do a run and now he's hit the shallow water. This is where the slack clutch came into play. Don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but the reel did a lot of screaming on the day with the clutch letting line off. There's another one in the bag. Oh, landing net come apart. I'm glad that happened so close in. That could have been a problem. Mind you, like I said, it's only probably about 8 or 9 inches deep there. I could have jumped in and not got my knees wet. As you can see, I've got my cupping pot in my maggots there. I've already put some corn and dead maggots in that pot. And I'm going to start feeding my 6 metre line, which, like I said, I've fed at an angle away from me. That's around 6 metres off the bank there. So I'm going to put a couple of pots of dead maggots and corn in and that line. And if any carp do come into that water, I'll be able to see them, I should imagine, because it's only shallow. Like I said, it's only 18 inches deep. They're not going to be able to disguise themselves much in that depth of water. I felt I had more chance of catching fish on that line than I did right in the edge because of how shallow the edge was. So I'll feed that and get back on the rod and keep an eye on it and see if I can see any fish coming into it. So back out on the bottom to hopefully catch another one. There's probably about an hour and a half of the match left now. That cast was unsuccessful. So back out on the wag, see if anything's moved up in the water. Quick feed first. That was an indication. Seems like there's more fish up in the water than there is on the bottom now. And I hook another one. Play it briefly and then it falls off. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it was foul hooked or not. I'll never know. It didn't feel foul hooked though. Then the same happens again. What's going on? I don't know what's happened. It's got to be foul hooked. I've managed to keep the next one I hook on. I wonder if a few fish have turned up in the peg and them all over the place. And them last two fish that I've hooked have both been feral hooked. That's my best guess anyway.
With this one. And this waggler I know, you know, but it's good. You're the around the beach. Yeah, I don't understand why. It's got to be fair, haven't it? That I like it in this net. There's no water for them. Not good, is it? But she's only here, you know. At least we've been at the net, should have been more.
Definitely feels like there's a few more fish here now. Getting indications and obviously hooking more carp. Fair up them too. That's my best guess. It's got to have been fair up fish. But it definitely feels like there's a few more here now.
hang on, hang on. Yeah,
Struggling to get this one out of the landing net. That's one of the problems with it being so shallow on the inside. There's no room to get your net in to allow the fish to swim out of it. Push the rings out a bit more, see if I can create a bit of space for them. Bang, there's another one. This is really good at the minute now. Believe it or not, that was the last fish I had on the waggler for the rest of the match. I thought it was going to end up really good, but with an hour to go, the fish just disappeared off the rod line. I couldn't get a bite on the waggler. I couldn't get an indication at all on the bomb. No liners, no nothing. I just don't know what happened. So it's time to have a look on the pole and see if I can catch anything short. Went in with double corn on a size 12 XSH. Again to an R19 hook length with 17 Duraslip elastic. Expected to catch one or two fish there, but all I caught was roach. It just wasn't right. Went out to 16 metres where I'd been feeding 8mm pellets. See if there was any fish there. I never had an indication there either. So I finished the match. Well, I intended to finish the match on the waggler, but I noticed a knot in my main line. So while I was fixing that, I didn't want any weak spots in it. While I was fixing that, I chucked the bomb out while I repaired it, only for the tip to fly around for me to hook the last fish of the day.
rod then. That one was. But the lip. Good job of it in a boat then.
So come the end of the match, I ended up with 17 carp and a few bits and bobs. I really thought I'd catch a few in that last hour, and I ended up just having that one fish. I was so disappointed. I felt I was in front of the lads either side of me going into that last hour, but then it all fell to pieces that last hour. The lad on the MPEG weighed 134 pound, and I thought I may nudge a ton. Anyway, my silvers went £7, a couple of skimmers and a few bits and bobs, a few roach, and there was a little carp in there as well. My second net had 5 carp in it, and they went £34 and 6 ounces. Now my third net had 12 carp in. You know, I said earlier on that I underestimated the size of them. Well, I thought I had around £60 in this net, and with it being an £80 net limit, I'd be well clear. Well, it ended up being two ways. The first one being £46 and the second one being £36. So that net weighed £82. I got it wrong. So I got knocked back to £80. It's only the second time that's ever happened to me. And that's the highest amount I've been knocked back, £2. The last time was £1, I think it was. I hate going over in nets. I ended up with £121 and 6 ounces, which was no good on the day. Jack, who's doing the weighing in there, he won the match with £139. And I can't help thinking that that last hour's definitely cost me. And I just felt, going into that last hour, I felt it was going to be good, but it just went completely the opposite way, and I just had that one fish right at the death. But never mind. Learnt a few things for the Matrix Champs in a few weeks. So hopefully I can improve on that. And if you enjoyed watching the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more like this, please subscribe. Cheers.